So gaming will essentially go to that for everything. So everything from your platformers to your first person shooters to your RPGs will be laden with loot boxes, skins, and microtransactions, because that's the only way to actually make money when you're doing, nothing but free to play or subscription based.
That's what frustrated me so much about Smash Brothers. It's like, you want all the characters, you have to pay $120.
Recording in progress.
All of them in that, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, give me a complete game, Nintendo. Jesus.
They did give you a complete game. They gave you 1 billion characters in that before the extra, 25 that they added. They had like 80 characters. Fuck off, Nick. They gave you a really good game. It was a really good game. It had so much content. Dozens of hours of content.
It's just like, I hate Nintendo for that.
The game's amazing.
I said it does work.
But Nintendo doesn't do that normally. Nintendo usually is like late to the DLC game.
Yeah, DLC should always be free also, in my opinion.
I disagree. Depends on what
I come from the days of expansion packs for PC gaming, so I've always looked at DLC as just that, an expansion pack. So I don't mind it so much.
StarCraft was the first game I have with an expansion pack.
I just don't
StarCraft.
Yeah, I just don't like it when DLC is like a day zero thing, and it's costing so much extra money. Like, especially when that I don't care for. Well, guys,
I know Xenoblade does really good DLC. Like I know Torna, that was like a fucking separate game.
Really?
For Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
That's cool. I am showing my face today. Hello, everyone out there on Breaking Geek World, to keep the this window open for Jonesy if he does show up late. So who's running this today?
I'll run the show.
Thank God.
So Nick, really quick, what are you going to want to do for Picard if
we'll put it last?
Do you want to skip it, or do you want to just do it last?
We'll do it last, and I'll say something solo.
Okay.
And if I have to go to work, we'll just cut it.
Yeah, I got the stuff.
We already recorded. You already dropped an F-bomb, but it's all right. It was well beyond 8 seconds. It was in the middle of our riveting discussion about gaming. All right, guys. It's
Jonesy pulling a Nick.
It's all on you.
Mean? Jonesy pull. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, the flagship and international podcast of LRMonline.com and the Genreverse Podcast Network, and also the premier podcast. I am one of your hosts today, Jammer, joined as always, as usual, as most times, with Nick Dahl. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Joined by Nick Dahl, not with Nick Dahl. That's just weird.
Joined with Nick Dahl.
We currently have Kyle Malone sort of guest spotting in. What's up, Kyle? Thank you for producing and for hopping on to fill the Jonesy void, as it were. Hopefully it sounds, appropriately creepy. And hopefully Jonesy will be able to fill his own void soon enough if he happens to show up a little bit late, which, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
It's funny you mentioned filling holes, given the movie.
Given the movie. Lots of holes.
So the guy with 7 holes.
Before we talk, 7 holes. The eyes don't count. Is that?
That's not.
I guess because they actually have something sitting in them at the moment.
Okay, because when I thought that was really funny.
Your already opening and
already digging into Quantumania, which we will talk about in a second. But I just thought that was really I thought it was funny when he paused. He was just like
counting at himself. I had to do the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, I'm happy they did that because I was basically able to. I
think everyone in the theater was doing that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so today we have Quantumania to discuss, which is great. We have a little controversial topic in the form of Hogwarts Legacy, the game that everyone loves talking about, the game that everyone loves to hate to talk about, and everything else in between. So that's that'll be a good time. That's not a what's it called, a garbage disposal that we're sticking our hands down, but it's an interesting topic. I think there is a lot of nuance there for sure. And looks like, Nick is having an existential crisis looking at his hands. And let's go ahead and hop into... Well, afterwards we'll talk about Picard, because Star Trek apparently is a thing that is really good. Or maybe, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what you think about Star Trek Picard. The third and final season of Star Trek Picard is happening. So, yeah. But before we jump into that, let's go ahead and talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, which is the latest, the 31st movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Sorry, is it 31st Project or movie? Is it Project? 31st Project, which Kevin Feige said
I don't know. I'm looking.
was fitting because 31 flavors, Baskin Robbins.
Oh, snap.
Everything always comes back to Baskin Robbins. Baskin Robbins always finds out. And I, for one, was quite happy with the amount of Baskin Robbins representation in Quantumania. But interesting film, to say the least, not just in terms of the movie itself, but in terms of reception.
31 movies, holy crap.
Oh, it is
31 movies?
It is. Guys, we like freaking Phase 4 alone had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 for Phase 4. So yeah, we're at 31.
That's not
now.
ridiculous. That's not an crazy obtuse. That's not a crazy amount because
oh, how big 3 was.
3 had the most.
Yeah, 3 had what, 13?
But it doesn't feel like it because unlike the
shows,
the past phases, well, the shows as well, but unlike the past phases, I've not watched a single Phase 4 film more than once.
Yeah, I will say Phase 4 is a first for me on that one as well.
It doesn't feel
I watched
like
Wakanda Forever again. Wakanda Forever was actually good. I liked watching it better the second time than I did the first time. That one held up better than I thought it would. But let's talk about Quantumania. Speaking of quality or whatever, reception, Ant-Man and the Wasp, 48% on Rotten Tomatoes as of this writing, which, if I'm not mistaken, puts it well below the Eternals, which I believe was 55%. You know, Kyle, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but regardless, that is
not
not
score yet.
Yes, I will tell you that in a second.
Okay, good.
That is not fantastic. It currently
I type in the Eternals and then it doesn't show up. Oh.
I think it's just called Eternals without a the.
Yeah,
they were pulling the Facebook.
Yeah, that's freaking
the Facebook.
47. They have a 47.
Oh, 47. So really encroaching then on
Ant-Man has
Eternals
48
territory.
right now.
48%. So that's not great, but it does have an 84% rating. What is the audience rating for Eternals?
Low.
Would
make me go back.
That one's lower than Ant-Man's for
so
sure.
84%. So overall, as of right now, based on 1,000+ verified reviews, Ant-Man and the Wasp
77.
does seem to be more of a crowd pleaser. Take from that what you will, but the critic consensus is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania mostly lacks the spark of fun that elevated earlier adventures, but Jonathan Majors' Kang is a thrilling villain poised to alter the course of the MCU. Nicholas Dahl, what are your thoughts on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? Give me a tweet, and I'll give a tweet. And for the fuck of it, or Kyle, you can give us a tweet response, and then we'll jump into spoilers.
I thought it was a lot of fun. A really good start to Phase 5. And it's hard to do a tweet. Now I've tweeted like 5 times just by saying to the tweet comments. I really enjoyed it. I thought I disagree with the critics very much so, unlike Eternals. And I'm excited to see it again. And I'm excited to see where the franchise goes. And it had all it felt like both an Ant-Man sequel and the start of a new chapter.
What about you, Kyle? What are your tweet thoughts? Twats. Nope, that's wrong. Don't do that.
It is better than 99% of Phase 4. It is not without some issues, including pacing. I give it a B.
Oh yeah, it's good.
I think we're largely in an agreement on a lot of things. I think it sounds like we all believe this movie to be better than what the critics are stating. But not a perfect film, and I'm on the same level. So my quote unquote tweet is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is a fun adventure, sci-fi adventure story that I didn't know I wanted. Continues Marvel's trends of having different genres for each movie, but not without specific thematic flaws. I think I give it a B, and this is one that I want to also check out multiple times. It certainly is, I think, better than most of Phase 4. I think I like Black Widow and Shang-Chi better. Well, no, I think I like Black Widow better. But Shang-Chi is I think has a weak third act that made me less likely to revisit it, or at least watch it in a whole. I've rewatched a lot of Shang-Chi, but usually kind of peter off at the third act, kind of get kind of bored with it. Black Widow I've watched a couple of times, and I enjoy that movie still. But I think this is one of the stronger ones. So let's go ahead and jump into spoilers.
Nick didn't give his grade, did you, Nick?
Well, I kind of threw it in A-. It was a B+ until certain characters
Should
showed
have
up.
stayed at B+.
Oh, certain characters showed up. Okay, well, let's go ahead and hop into spoilers for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Nicholas Dahl, I want to hear what character ruined this for you.
No, the grade went up when characters showed up.
Oh, you said it was a B+.
From B+, 2
okay.
and A-.
Okay, so what character made it better?
2, Kang and M.O.D.O.K. M.O.D.O.K stole the show. I mean, Kang is obviously the best part of that movie.
Well, we knew Kang was coming. Well, I guess everyone knew M.O.D.O.K. too.
Yeah, but I didn't realize he would be that entertaining or in it for as long as he was.
Or, as relevant as he was to the first movie. Like, to have Corey Stoll come back as Darren Cross. It was
You're like,
really
Darren, call me M.O.D.O.K.
It was really weird. It was really gross. Like, they
I like
really
seeing his little
leaned into the
body without the
gross
suit.
humor. Yeah, that was gross. You felt really bad for him though by the end of it, but also you're still laughing at him. So it was this weird dynamic they had where it's like they made it sad that he was dying, but also not really that sad. But yeah, he was just a broken man, and he died.
We were like
Avenger.
brothers. Yeah, I love that. That was my favorite. Like, at first I thought it was cheesy that he would come back and not be a dick. No, but then it was suddenly funny. He rushes in to save everyone just because of a not a dick speech. But then he's like, at least I died an Avenger. Like, we were like brothers, Scott. It's like,
I'm like, did he know Scott for like more than, I don't know, a day?
And he hated him the entire time.
Yeah, he didn't know him very much. It's so sad. What are your thoughts about... So actually, let me just go ahead and talk to me really quick about my main issue with the story. I think it had some really good setups that didn't pay off as well. One thing I really enjoy, and I think people don't like about the MCU as much as I do, is that each movie tends to bring about a new arc for the character. These aren't characters that have a single arc over the many movies. They are characters that literally every movie have another arc.
I don't know. Thor, at least through Endgame, his was pretty much a solid arc through. You have the petulant little man baby in Thor 1, and then he goes into Thor 2, and he's got a little bit more of a maturity, but he still has no idea like how to be a leader or who he wants to be and things like that. He has his family and everything ripped apart in Ragnarok, all while you have the Avengers films, and he gets the influence from humans and a bit of humanity to come with that humility, and it all leads up to the I'm still worthy moment in Endgame. I think honestly, I think Thor had one of the best. No, it's
my point is this:
House of Fury is a longer arc.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a long arching arc, but it's made up of small arcs. You mentioned in between. Man-child thing. Then this is the arc of this movie. Then this is the arc of this movie. And then they even sometimes have arcs that kind of contradict what came before a bit. And like that's okay because leveling up isn't binary. As we learned with, Star Wars The Last Jedi. Sorry, go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead. Continue. I interrupted you.
No, I don't remember where you interrupted me. Sorry. You mentioned something awful, the sequel trilogy, so what was I talking about?
You were talking about his
Marvel.
arc leading up to I'm Still Worthy.
No, yeah, I was just saying that I felt that was, there's little mini arcs that make it up, but it's all still feeding one real big one, unlike other characters whose arcs really were kind of individual because they were already who and what they were supposed to be.
So anyways, I like that each usually film has a separate arc for the character to overcome. Spider-Man Homecoming, the first one, he has to learn that I could be my friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Spider-Man Far From Home, he learns that. What the fuck does he learn in that one? I don't know what he learns in that one, but he learns something else and he becomes a certain thing. And then third one, they're each movie is supposed to stand alone with its character arc, and they generally do a pretty good job of making that a thing. And I liked what they set up with Scott Lang in this one, where he saved the world, he saved the universe, or helped save the universe, and was like, hey, I'm going to take a break. I'm just going to live my life. There's nothing wrong with that. And I agree, but the arc they could have done is that they set up was there's still people and things out there that need fighting for. And they made it more about his daughter. So there are points where he was fighting constantly for his daughter, which is great, but based on the way they set up the arc, it should have been more about, yes, fighting for my daughter is important, but this is important too. I am an Avenger. I should be fighting for this. I feel like that's where they were leading. They didn't actually follow through with it that much. Yes, he ended up saving them, but only honestly to save his daughter and his family, not actually to save the people or fight for who needed help. So they had moments like that throughout.
There's a lot I do for my son that I'm not going to put effort in for.
I get it, but I'm just saying the arc that they set up.
Yeah.
What do you think, Nick? Did you notice that, and did that bother you?
No, I think it paid off. I think he did start doing that. In fact, at a certain point, he was like, "Well, I'm gonna like if he didn't change his arc, he would have been like, all right, here's the orb, Kang, take us home." Like
he gave him the orb. He basically was going to give him the orb.
He did, but then he fought. Even though he didn't have Cassie back, he started fighting. I don't know. It felt like
he didn't have Cassie back that he fought, because he said literally was yelling about you. We had a deal. Where's my daughter or something like so that.
I don't know. I felt it was still there, but you're right. It is a lot about Cassie, but even from like the first scene that he fights, he's doing it for more than just. They could have taken off from that village earlier, but they go back.
I just don't think it was driven home enough as an arc from point A to point B, and I think that would have made it thematically stronger, which is sort of my biggest problem with it, is that thematic arc isn't clear. I don't know, Kyle, do you agree with me on that?
Somewhat. The movie's bogged down by trying to, especially in the first half, be exposition heavy to set up this villain that we're going to be having hopefully through the rest of phase 5 and into phase 6. And that's part of where like some of the pacing issues come in at. And then at the end of the day, you still need some sort of showdown and resolution, which we get. Do you remember if they say there in the post credits, did they say they defeated the one we exiled, or they killed the one we exiled?
Killed.
They did say killed.
They said he's dead. I'm not convinced he's dead because he basically Darren crossed it.
That's what it seems like. And I was gonna say that, and I said this on our Marvel Multiverse Mayhem review with Nick. That it's kind of, I see what they're doing with the whole Kang dynasty now versus the Conqueror being the guy at the head of the dynasty. But that's 2 times we've had to see a Kang that's not the Kang. And I kind of wanted the Conqueror to be the Kang because he's the one on the mission. I get what they're doing. I don't necessarily like it. It's still early, but
well, here's what I
that
foresee
was one of the
happening
issues too.
So that is a question I have, and I'll ask that question first, then lead into my main theory, I guess. The fact that this was Kang the Conqueror, defeated by effing Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man.
How did that feel?
Yeah.
Didn't bother me at all because he's without his time traveling powers completely. He can't even like stop time to fight them because he's in a place without time.
I did feel like there was an inconsistency in his abilities.
He can't even do like the jumping around, which
in
he
his
would normally
abilities
do.
Though. Well, he was able to do like a lot of really powerful things. He was able to freeze.
Related.
He was able to freeze Janet randomly. Never used that ability again. And just other things like that. That it seemed like, oh, they built him up as this thing, and he had these abilities. But then when it time to actually came to use it, he was kind of nerfed so that Ant-Man could take him down. Did you feel that at all, Kyle or Nick?
Yeah, partially. And that was one of those things that I was really, because I knew a lot about this movie going in. This was actually one that didn't have anything that surprised me. Unlike the last few have had, 1 or 2 scenes that I was like, oh, I didn't know about that. Yeah, it's one of those weird things, man. And even still, even with the amount of Kang that we got, we still we still have not really, like, we didn't even tie anything from Phase 4. Something that I didn't think would be a good idea, but I would accept simply so Phase 4 felt somewhat connected, was to show Kang's technology being, the gauntlets or the 10 rings, being involved in some of the MacGuffins from Phase 4. We didn't even get anything like that, so this feels like something that is only carrying things forward because we know Kang is a big deal in the future. It doesn't necessarily feel like something carrying something forward the way, Phase 3 movies really felt. But it was still overall fine. But it was a question with what is Kang going to, if they can defeat this Kang super easily, how does that affect the future? And it's, well, they're going to get all the Kangs. It'll be all the Kang. That's the threat.
I think it ultimately will be the Conqueror, because
I hope so.
He didn't die. I like that, but they were like, oh, we wrote the Council of Kang is here, and we're going to discuss. So. I don't know what the heck they're going to discuss, but they're going to discuss some stuff.
Killing
and
heroes.
Then at some point, the Conqueror will return and basically probably be the thing that, like, brings about maybe the destruction of all of them or something or whatever. So I think he will come back.
I saw a good Screen Rant video after I got home. First of all, I wasn't convinced last night when Kyle and I did the review that we needed the same Kang to come back. But then the Screen Rant guy gave the best theory, where he's like, yeah, Kang could have survived that Darren Cross style, and it would have made him no longer a threat to the Council of Kangs if it looked like he was dead and just made an escape.
What if this is what if the Conqueror becomes the Beyonder? That's my theory.
Oh,
I think so. Oh, I also think, like, apparently in the comics too, Prime Kang, as they call him, infiltrates the Council of Kangs, and the guy's theory was maybe he's already even there. He killed another Kang and he's already there, and he's the one who kills the entire council because he's like, I'm the real Kang. Kind of like they already said his plot was. He's like, screw all of you guys. You're all dead. Now I'm going to go kill the Avengers.
Yeah.
But I really do think, I understand that his powers seemed inconsistent and he used a lot of them, but I still think it's a place without time. So in the comics and even the TV shows and stuff, his biggest threat is that he can, do what He Who Remains did and just kind of jump around or stop time when the Avengers can't move. And here he doesn't have his time powers. Except for when he freezes Janet.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that the same power he's using when
technology thing, maybe force fields or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I felt that was like when he was just, like lifting Cassie or
that's a good point. But he didn't use it in the actual battle.
Scott Lang. No, but no, I think, part of the reason he was going to kill everyone until the giant ants showed up. Like,
those giant ants were on the vicious. Ropes. Those were really fun. And I love the time. I loved it when they revealed the ants have lived and created a whole entire civilization. I laughed so hard. It was so funny, and I loved it. Every second of it.
Who didn't want, or who else was upset that Michael Douglas's Hank didn't have an I am Ant-Man moment? Because he uses the ants more than anyone else. He was the original.
He's the only one who does in this movie.
I really wish because I expected him to say something and they didn't have it. It's a missed opportunity.
There was that moment when he was commanding and walked in. It looked like he was about to have a one-liner. I guarantee you they had takes where he had some sort of thing like that, and they decided to cut it. Maybe they thought it was too cheesy.
Maybe,
but
I almost wanted it. You know what I'm saying? Because it a return to the heyday of heroing. For him.
Yeah.
Commanding an army of ants, this time literally an army of ants.
I do appreciate how much they've still managed to incorporate him into the story of the Ant-Man's movies. Like, he's still very important. Like, the way they've been able to juggle literally 2 generations of Ant-Man is really awesome. That's one of the things I love about Marvel. And it's actually one of the things I really liked about the idea of Black Panther. When what's his name? Claw was killed, and I was like, oh, well, that's a waste of a villain. But at the same time, it's like, well, he was the villain for T'Chaka's Black Panther, not for T'Challa's Black Panther. And I just like the idea that it was like a generational thing, and that we just saw the tail end of a generation kind of just peter out.
In a Thunderbolts movie, if they were doing real Thunderbolts with real villains instead of these softy anti-heroes.
Hey, man. It is what it is. So Ant-Man and the Wasp, overall, it sounds like we were all pretty on board with it, had a good time. I understand why everyone compared it to Star Wars. It felt like a Star Wars
God,
universe
yes, it did.
in a big way.
Even the costumes looked Star
Yeah.
Warsy.
I like
Holy
that.
They really
crap.
did. It's
I don't, because I haven't liked Star Wars recently.
and I
haven't
like
liked
some of
Marvel
the alien
much
creatures
either.
they had. Like you had I forget his name, Chidi from
Yeah.
The Good
Oh yeah,
Place.
yeah, yeah.
That
He
was
was
a funny
great. His
scene,
character
too.
was so funny, and
That kind of proves, well, it doesn't necessarily mean, and William Jackson Harper doesn't mean that he can't be Reed, but there was a rumor or a fan casting for him to be Reed Richards.
Oh, that would
but,
have been cool.
it would have been good. He would have been
but
good in that
he's
role.
not, at least not as of now.
I mean, there's no way they're gonna recast him after that. And I like
Sorry,
that
I
little
couldn't find the
the whole
post.
creature. That thing, the way it was
Mhm.
designed, the way it ran
Veb.
around, I thought was really cool. The way that they also drinking of the ooze made them hear
Drink
English
the ooze, Dad.
was really fun.
Yeah.
Oh, and what did y'all think of Cassie? Because she will be taking over the Ant Mantle, going like forward at some point. What did you think?
I like her a lot. I don't know I don't know if we'll ever get to her actually taking it over. It seems like
Why
they're
not?
like avoiding Young Avengers and stuff like that, which makes sense because all these Young Avengers aren't young. Or it's
They're in
like,
their-
yeah,
they're in
the
the early
kid,
20s.
yeah, it's like, yeah, which is like,
We don't want to
few
watch a
years
bunch of
off from-
10 to 12-year-olds run around, Nick.
I know, but like they're not even really much younger than their other counterparts. But I could see her being, yeah, definitely being an Ant-Man.
all of
The older ones are in their like 40s and 50s.
yeah, dude, like
No, they were all in their late 20s when they were cast.
They were edging on 40.
None of them were. Now they're edging on 40.
Downey was older, both
Yeah.
Norton and Ruffalo older. The younger ones were only freaking Johansson,
Thor.
who's in her mid 30s, pushing on 40, and Evans, who was also
And Hemsworth.
And
Not when they
Hemsworth was
started.
pretty young.
I don't know. I guess they're late 20s or early 30s and not early 20s.
Yeah.
But I could see her being in an Avengers movie. But I hope the rumor is true that they're doing another Ant-Man with Paul Rudd. They can just
So
include
speaking of, I have a couple of things to say, but one, I'm interested to see Cassie interact with the Hawkeye. I forget her name.
Okay,
Uh,
Bishop.
Kate Bishop. Kate Bishop, because I feel like their personalities were kind of similar in terms of. I just would love that interaction between them where they like are trying to bumble their way through things constantly, and then Yelena be like, "Guys, come on, let's just do
Yeah.
things right." I think that'd be some fun interaction there. Also, Paul Rudd is aging, guys. He I don't know if you felt this.
He finally
but
looked a little.
the end of it
little
where they
older.
had those
yeah.
those shots on his face, I was like, oh, he's
he finally
old.
he finally looks like he's about
ran
40,
out of-
45 now.
He ran out of the serum.
Yeah, he ran out of the
Like
serum.
Crowley's
He
ears.
ran out of
Sorcerer's
children's
Stone.
blood.
It's
Yeah.
been harder to get virgin nun blood these days for some reason or another. Fucking bastard, man. Anyways,
Any last thoughts about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, or the fact that we're starting Phase 5? Is this a good start for Phase
Yes.
5?
Mhm.
Nick, you think it is? Kyle,
Yes.
yeah, palate cleanser still has issues, but it's not the worst Marvel thing I've seen.
are you
And
still
then-
interested in watching Marvel movies going forward, Kyle? Because I listened to your cup of genre the other day,
Yeah.
and you were basically talking about if this isn't good, you're done.
This here has kept it for what comes after Guardians. I'll see. Like, I'm not out. So yeah, we'll keep seeing. I don't have a lot of like excitement for anything, and I still reserve the right to hop off the train at any given moment. But yeah, this was not a disappointment. So I was gonna see Guardians 3 regardless, because that's its own thing. And I hope that's a home run. But yeah, I'll be seeing what's after that. The Marvels. Oh God, I don't know. We'll have to see about the trailers, but I'll be watching the shows at least for a bit.
I'm
Just
intrigued by the
before we're
Marvels.
done, I can't stress enough how good Jonathan Majors is as an actor compared to even Killmonger. Like, he is just a good
How
good
dare
actor.
you? How dare you? Michael B. Jordan is a national treasure, sir.
We get to see both of them in the same movie for the podcast later this spring.
Oh yeah, yeah. Creed 3. God, I'm still looking forward to that movie.
Me too.
Watch, you're gonna be right, and he's gonna be acting circles around Michael B. Jordan, and we're gonna be like, oh no, didn't realize he was that much better.
And then I do love the ending where just for a few moments, Paul Rudd or Scott Lang's like, wait, did I doom everyone to death? Is everyone going to die because of me? And then he's like, no, whatever.
I have to ask Jammer about this, man. Did not that final or the post-credit scene with the mid one with all the Kangs, did that not just feel and look cheap? Like even the costumes I mentioned to Nick, part? Like the Council of Kangs, where you have Immortus, you have Iron Lad / Silver Guardian or Centurion or whatever the hell.
I heard that sense that it might be Centurion.
And then Rama, whatever, the Egyptian version of Kang. When you had all of them, did it not look like the costume props of a Hollywood movie's costume party scene? Like they were not like, it looked like cheap, it looked like expensive Halloween costumes is what I'm saying. Like a theme park tier Halloween costume. It didn't look like an MCU costume. I mean, am I crazy, or did you just like it because it was
crazy.
Weird?
I just didn't pay that much attention to it, to be honest. I was too distracted thinking like, because I was watching it and I was thinking, oh my God, that's so many Jonathan Majors they needed to costume up. And I was looking at all of them. I'm like, oh my God, what a logistical nightmare. I hate everything. And then it ended. So I think my mind was elsewhere rather than actually at their costumes.
All right.
If you've been skeptical about Marvel because of Phase 4, go see a movie that does carry it forward and connect, and it's a lot of fun.
And like I said, I think it continues the tradition of like this genre. I feel like has never been tackled within the realm, like I guess space fantasy, Guardians, but it's a different kind of space fantasy. I don't know. It's really unique within the MCU and definitely worth it, despite what the ratings say.
Just drink the juice, y'all.
I actually haven't listened or watched any people talking about critiques yet, so I'm interested to hear what their critiques are to the point where it's
as bad as they say it
so
is.
Meh. Because I don't think anyone's been like, this is a piece of shit. Well, I don't know. I haven't read it, but what are they talking about? I don't know.
It's critics, man. I don't know what they're talking
Critic
about.
gonna crit. All right. Any last words before we move on?
No. Tubular.
So let's talk about why I'm talking to you, listening or watching this, are a horrible person. I'm talking specifically about Hogwarts Legacy, the movie, the video game that launched last Friday, to much fan acclaim and to much backlash simultaneously, with many streamers being yelled at for covering it. And it all stems from the author of the original Harry Potter franchise, J.K. Rowling, who has expressed in the past some anti-trans sentiment and has since gone on to really double down on them. I mean, I don't know how about you, but I feel like there's no way to say, because before I could say like, well, I guess I can kind of see this, but at this point I'm like, okay, no, she seems to be on that bandwagon and is doubling down fairly hard on that.
When we covered this before, it was more of like, you and Jonesy were like, yeah, she could just mean, she's just saying it because of this and this. And now it's like, yeah, no, she's super transphobic, where she thinks every male who's trans is doing it just to get it into like women's locker rooms and stuff.
I don't think she said that explicitly.
No.
So I think it's very important that we make that clear.
As a matter of fact, most things that she says is in defense of women, biological women, not really saying much about trans women or transgender generally. She does from time to time, but most of the time she talks about protecting things for biological women, which is why she gets called a TERF, which is a trans exclusionary radical feminist, because she is very, very pro-woman, very, very pro-feminist in that traditional sense. So I would want to remain cautious, because the way the some of the way future for her is she hasn't really been litigious. Did I use that? She hasn't litigated a whole bunch of stuff.
I think so.
But you could see in the future that happening. So yeah, I wouldn't word it the way you had, Nick.
So as we go into this talk, which will make it more interesting, I'm gonna compare her to the peer in Glass Onion and say she's a piece of shit. So
okay, well, what I want to also mention, so with regards to her statements, you mentioned the term TERF, and I think that explains it fairly accurately. She has fought for women's rights her entire life, but in her mind, if you're a trans woman, you don't count. You're not a woman. What I fought for doesn't really apply to you. Would you say that's accurate, Kyle, based on everything that she said?
At the base function, yes, she has said that,
Yeah.
Of course, she supports equal treatment under the law. She wants, no one to be treated badly or be excluded. She's not anti-trans in the idea that trans people shouldn't exist or should be treated differently. So it's a very nuanced conversation.
Yes and no, because also I know she talks about the specific quote unquote women's rights should not apply to trans, or women's rights, the things that she fight for. So for example, and I might be completely off base here, but like if she's fighting for, I guess, domestic abuse or like, domestic shelters being taking in women, it doesn't sound like she would count trans women to be brought into that place,
into that same building. Yeah, she does.
Yes.
She does say things like that, but she is not saying that domestic abuse doesn't happen to trans women and that they shouldn't have a place to go. She's just saying you should also protect the women there and consider their feelings and things like that. So again, it's anyone can say anti this or against that, but you have to actually look at what each person is actually saying, and nowhere is she demanding some sort of inferior treatment for trans people. She again is just really, really focused on protecting what she feels is a endangered class, especially around males that generally, or people with biological male chemicals, are hormones and things like that, are generally physically not inferior. Inferior is the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying. Less physically capable, less strong physically on the average.
But equal.
Right.
Okay,
and
Nick.
that's what she really seems to
Nick, she is
focus
saying that.
on.
I don't think he's saying that with the context. That brings up a whole other can of worms there.
That is a whole different one. But in general, that's it. And so many people kind of don't want to have that separation and they want it to all be included. But there is some nuance there, and there are things, and you do have to consider in a building like a shelter. You do have to consider what the other residents would feel. And if you have a shelter that, say, has 20 women from domestic abuse or various issues there, and 19 out of them say they feel uncomfortable with having someone that might have, say, still male parts or hormones. I mean, do them in that situation, in that what's the word I'm looking for? Exposed, not exposed. Where you're insecure and where you're I can't think of the word, but when they're in that insecure and that exposed moment, what about their feelings as well? And that's one thing JK is constantly vulnerable. There's a good word. JK is constantly bringing up that aspect, and of course she's got her own opinions and stuff. And I'm not attacking, I'm not defending. I'm just trying to lay out as much of the context as possible. It's a very nuanced conversation that has a lot of layers that I don't think people on Twitter, especially because of look at how the reaction to the game. I mean, it's one of the best selling games, one of the most streamed games, one of the most watched games, search games. Like, the people on Twitter that thought that this would be able to be killed and die, they had their world smashed into pieces. That people really aren't in their bubble as much as they thought. And that kind of goes with some of the things that J.K. Rowling brings up about women in general. While you might think that everyone's on this level, there's actually 10 levels below it, and everyone's divvied up there. So Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I don't
Yes.
remember the question, to be honest, but you know,
That's
I
all
think
right,
you
neither
made some
do
good
I.
points there. Personally, I still think that I think her personally, what she says feels anti-trans to me. But that kind of, let's go ahead and move that aside and talk about Hogwarts Legacy itself and the internet's desire to villainize over people playing it or streaming it. Nick,
Yes.
what are your thoughts? I know you don't have Hogwarts Legacy,
I
but
really,
know
really
you
want it.
You really, really want it.
I do. I'm waiting for the Xbox One release date or the Switch release date because they're staggered by a few months to make sure it works on those consoles.
I'm waiting for the PS4 version myself as well. So like this, I'm definitely not.
I like Harry Potter. I want to play this game.
who's really going to be taking a stand against it, I will say. But I think also the question here is, and we've talked about this before,
and I've changed since we talked about it.
Where do you draw the line between like saying, "Oh, I'm not going to watch this because of this," or "I'm not going to play this because of this political reason"? Does it make you a bad person to want to play a video game or to watch something from somebody who is not just controversial, but maybe, and this is not necessarily the case with Rowling, abhorrent as a human being, or somebody who is just like maybe like Roman Polanski,
Kevin Spacey.
Or Kevin Spacey. Where do you draw the line? So Nick, tell us about where you were and where you now find yourself in that discussion.
I used to be like, I remember I was even talking about where it's like, I don't want to do the next Fantastic Beast movie, like, because I shouldn't be giving her any money. I don't want to watch The Flash because I shouldn't be giving Ezra Miller any money. Like, I don't think we should be, dealing with any of these people to a point where I even switched from Spotify to Apple Music just because of Joe Rogan. Apple Music is actually a way better service, but that's a different story. After switching, I found out. But I've erased the line because I realized if I'm because at the same time, as was brought up, as I was saying that about these people, where it's easier to cut it out, I'm like, I'm still watching Arrested Development, even though Jeffrey Tambor is very not sexually or physically abusive. He's very abusive to the late Jessica Walters, who played Lucille 1, or Liam Neeson, who had those racist comments about like he wanted to just go kill a black person after his sister was raped or whatever. And now I'm like, since everyone does that where they're like, I'm gonna pick and choose which ones. So I'm like, with the exception of I would never see a brand new Kevin Spacey movie. Like, I would still stream a movie.
Didn't all the charges get dropped or withdrawn or settled
from Kevin Spacey?
Yeah, I don't think anything.
No idea.
He was never convicted yet that I'm aware.
No,
I'm not saying that you don't.
I don't think so.
Have to. So yeah.
Yeah.
But even him, like, I don't know. There's just too much stink on him for me to want to see a new movie of his.
And
at the same time,
I'd
watch a movie that on a streaming service of his, which gives him money.
What do you mean a streaming service? Does Kevin Spacey have a streaming service?
No, I mean, like, I'd watch him in a movie that I don't own. I used to say I won't even watch him in anything I don't own because you get some money if you stream it. But it's like, no, if there's a past Kevin
the license
Spacey
fee for
library
his movies have already been paid for. So
that's why I was wondering how it worked with those things.
But if he watches it again, it could get renewed.
It could
likely to get renewed, and you could be indirectly responsible.
You liked that movie? We're gonna keep it.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Yeah, I've kind of erased the line, not completely, because this would never happen anyway.
Netflix saying you've watched K-Pax 170 times. What is wrong with you?
So it doesn't bother me. I'm not gonna say anyone who played the game is supporting anti-trans agenda. I don't. Because that's the article we read. There's a lot of people online who are basically saying like you can't be an ally if you play. That was a quote from the article we're talking about. Like, you can't even be an ally if you're gonna go buy Hogwarts Legacy. Because there's also something I'd never really thought of before, is that she's not the only one making residuals off her movies or off her games or whatever. Like, there's a lot of other people getting paid because of what she did, whether it be in the movies, Daniel Radcliffe, or the many good directors who worked on that franchise, or with the game, a lot of developers make residuals off of it, or at least the higher ups. So yeah, like why punish everyone? And I can't just pick it. I don't want to just pick and choose because it's easier for me to quit Harry Potter than it is for me to quit Arrested Development. So yeah, the line's kind of erased for me. I'm not gonna go calling people something because they see a movie or play a game that's related to a bad person. And especially what helped make me realize that is the Flash trailer, which I was like, we should skip the Flash because he's so terrible. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to see this movie. I'm a hypocrite. I'm getting rid of that line.
I mean, you don't have to say like the line is gone now. It's completely gone. You're allowed to take a stand where you want. And you're allowed to express that. I think what it comes down to is and once again, this is like me. I don't want to make a blanket statement because, for example, if there's some point down the line, if there's someone whose behavior is so bad where I'm like, no, we shouldn't be supporting that. Like, I'll probably be a hypocrite in that regard. But I'm trying to find this quote from the article. Specifically,
Even like James Franco, I probably wouldn't see a new movie from him, but it's not going to stop me from buying or watching an old movie from him.
So here's the quote that says, if you buy Hogwarts Legacy because you're excited to play it, you aren't transphobic. If you boycott the game, you're not a bad person. If you call someone transphobic for buying the game, you're an asshole. If you say you're buying to piss off libs, you're an asshole too. I think that's solid. I think that I agree with that.
And stream it for the clicks. That's the only reason.
For the clicks, for outrage clicks, I'll say you're an asshole.
Not outrage, just the clicks for anyone that wants to watch. Positive, negative, hate, like, doesn't matter. You're just a content whore and you'll do anything for clicks.
I mean, I would say there's some asshole tendencies probably because, for me, I wouldn't want to play it like, oh, I want everyone to join, including the freaking the assholes who are transphobic, the real transphobic assholes. I don't want them to be part of my audience. But if you're just like, no, all comers come to my stream, I would be like, okay, there's a little bit of enabling there. Personally. But anyways, I'm certainly gonna fight. And I know Jonesy has said this in the past, but when you're a person of color, there's not a lot of stuff you can really consume with that lens of if it offends me or if it's bad, then we can't watch it.
Like they said when I switched to Apple, where it's like, well, about all the other artists, they're on both services that should outrage you. And it's like, yeah, that's true. Like I've settled down. I've calmed down about the whole thing.
It's all case by case. You got to have
case by case, and it matters.
Does convictions of a specific crime matter more than accusations? For me, in general, I'm a big fan of innocent until proven guilty, especially considering how often people are even proven guilty wrongly. There are times where, of course, overwhelming evidence, videotapes, and things like that can help solidify an opinion before. But I'm also a lot more. I'm a lot more live and let live, and a lot more of a what would you say? I see a lot of, like I said, the layers. Like I see so much of the nuance, and I can't just draw
Ogres
one
everywhere.
line. Yeah,
and
basically.
there is a line, I guess. Like I stopped listening to Kanye and R. Kelly completely because I don't know. So there's some lines.
Ignition hits the playlist every now and then, man. I let it rip.
That's a great song. I stopped listening. I removed that from my playlist. Jammer yourself. These few minutes we have left.
I think that I understand where people are coming from, but yeah, for me, it's also one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I get your desire for trans rights, and trans people, trans women are women, trans men are men. I totally support that, but it's also one of those things where it's like I don't know. It is difficult to look back at a lot of things and be like, oh, I'm not going to watch that if you don't like how they portray or how they treat a person of color, and to just rule those out completely. I don't know. It just seems like a very privileged position to come from, where it's like this particular thing we're not going to do because of this particular thing. And a lot of people like Jonesy or myself don't necessarily have that same privilege. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. It just feels weird to me.
And like, it's not her first offense. I mean, like,
no,
there's
don't get me wrong.
stuff in the
J.K.
books
Rowling,
and the
to me-
movies where it's like, oh, that's pretty racist.
Well, that's the thing.
But-
It is, but because it wasn't necessarily against, people in a position of privilege, against it was against, Asian person or a black person
Jews.
or Jewish
Yeah.
people. Like those, it has never been just a normal's in the right word, just like a what you would a straight white person has been offensive. It's not been that, and therefore there hasn't been much controversy surrounding it. And only looking back do people go like, oh, that was effed up. It's like, yeah, it kind of was. It was definitely effed up. But we let it go, and they still don't seem to have a problem with letting it go currently because of this anti-trans thing. That's, again, a lot of nuance.
Cool.
I don't know.
I can do a quick Picard review before we bow out, like super quick.
Do we need a Picard
I mean,
review?
really?
For
We're
that
at 52
Star Trek
minutes.
tag, yo.
Yeah,
I liked
don't-
it. It
I
was
don't
very
think we're-
enjoyable. I can't wait
Okay.
to watch more.
there
Just
you
like
go.
my Spider-Man comments last week where we had
I'm
to
not
jump to the
putting a
Fast
tag
X
for
trailer.
this.
And I'm like, as well as at least that, Sony's involved, but Chris Miller and Phil Lord are
I've
involved.
marked
So
this as final
boom.
thoughts.
Still gonna tag it. Yes,
It won't matter. It won't be enough in the script for it to matter.
No.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast. Of course, we're not the only podcast here on the Genreverse Podcast Network. We have Marvel Multiverse Mayhem, where you can hear Nick and Kyle continue or discuss different thoughts about Quantumania.
Mm-hmm.
You can
we have
check
a fresh
out Daily
review for that.
Daily Cup of Genre. You can check out AVR and AVR Squared, and the Cantina, which is our Star Wars podcast. Yeah, where can people find you, Kyle?
On all the videos here on Genreverse now that I've been on this one, at that Kyle Malone on Twitter.
Where can they find you, Nick?
At Geeky Nick Doll on Twitter, and I've been trying to use my Instagram for stupid shit.
Okay, it took me a long time to process that. I
So
wasn't
that's
sure.
also at Geeky Nick Doll.
There you go.
I
I
keep
was
it
like,
across the platforms.
I would love to keep it across the platform, but it's not always possible. You can find me on Twitter at AJ Cerno Writer. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you all next week when we cover the next
Cocaine
episode.
Bear. I want to do Cocaine Bear.
But we don't know. We haven't decided yet, Nick.
I'm deciding. No, I'm just kidding. And with that, hasta lasagna. Don't get
Don't
any
get
on
any
ya.
on ya.
Mission Impossible.